Money Matters. Rachel Kennedy here, and I'm so glad that you have tuned in week after week to view these shows. We come to you every week to let you know that your money matters. It matters what you make. It matters what you save. It matters what you spend. It matters how you manage the money that you've worked hard for and that's been entrusted to you. Thanks again for tuning in. I enjoy coming to you every week, explaining to you about real money matters. Because believe it or not, every day your money matters. Whether you're sleeping or you're awake, there is an occasion to spend money. But guess what? On the other hand, there's an occasion to save money. So we want to get back into that habit. I want you to right now go get your favorite cup of Java, your favorite drink, something to relax. I want you to be able to pay attention to our show today. We have some good news, some things we're going to talk about that's relevant, that's happening even right now in the city of Detroit. So call a friend, call a neighbor, let them know Real Money Matters is on the air. And we're here to share with you and educate you concerning your finances. As we continue to move forward, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd like for you to email me. Send me an email. I'd like to hear how these shows are helping you. And if you have any questions or any comments, I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to answer your questions on the air and be able to share with you any concerns you may have. I'm so excited. We have been going over so many good things over the course of the show. Last week we talked about credit repair. Oh my gosh, and Miss Allie Sanders was called in and joined us, and she gave us some good valuable tips, and we're going to go over those momentarily. But as always, I want you to get a piece of paper, take some notes, because we're going to cover some good topics today. We're still in our Christmas countdown. I'm going to tell you that every week. Every week we're talking about Christmas, and it's 152 days till Christmas. So please, I hope you're taking those points and tips that I've given you concerning your savings. Email me. Let me know if you save some, how much you've saved, whatever it is. Every little bit adds up. So if you just start where you are, you can always increase it later. But what we don't want you to do is start so high that you can't maintain it. So that's why I always say start at $5. $5, we can go through $5 in no time. So I want you to get in the habit, get that envelope system going. And someone say, well, what is that? Well, you have to review my previous shows. You can feel free to log back in. Kevin Lewis has made it available that you're able to see previous shows. So I think I have probably almost 2-3 months worth of shows that are there. And we've talked about so many topics. We want to continue to bring an awareness to you. We don't want you to worry about your money, because we want to continue to encourage you to develop a budget. Yes, the B word, a budget that works for you. And so in lieu of all the things that are going on today, I know back to school, I keep reminding you about that. It's coming soon. The children are going back to school. I want to encourage you to get their physicals, get their supplies, get all those things in order for our children going back to school, because it's a wonderful time of the year for me. I tell you, I'm so happy when my daughter goes back to school. But it's been a great summer, and hopefully you've enjoyed your summer. Today we have a quote, and we're going back to our quotes. Every week I like to bring you an interesting quote. And this week's quote, I found it lines up with one of the things that I say all the time, and I thought, wow, this is exciting. I'm going to share this quote on the air today. And that quote is from John C. Maxwell, and his quote was, "A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went." I mean, that was like so in line with what I always say. I always say, if you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to leave without your permission. So that just kind of confirmed what I said. So I love that. So remember, a budget is telling your money where to go. So don't be afraid of the B word. Don't be afraid of the budget. It's telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And how often do we get money and we just spend it and don't know where it went? That's why it's so important for you to be have an awareness of your spending. Think before you purchase anything. Even if it's just a bottle of water, if it's just whatever it is, just think about it. Is this something I need, or is this something I want? Is there a way I can save money at this, or is this the best price I can get, and do I really need this right this moment? So we want you to consider that, because if you don't tell it where to go, it's going to leave without your permission. Last week we talked about habit. Oh my gosh, I had a riddle that explained to you about habit, and a habit can make you or a habit can break you, and you have to get that riddle. I want you to email me at realmoneymatters@RachelRKennedy.com. I'd love to send you that. That is something wonderful to have on your refrigerator, or have somewhere that you frequently go, where you can, in your office, where you can look at that and know that your habits, what you do every day, it matters, and it can help you, it can make you, or it can break you. So email me. I'd love to get that out to you and share that information with you as well. Like I said, last week we talked about credit repair. Oh my goodness, and Allie Sanders did a wonderful job of explaining us a lot of things about our credit repair. Don't be afraid to go and pull your report. I hope that you all were able to pull your report last week. I pulled mine, and so I followed right in suit. And it's good, it's interesting to know what is out there on you, and you want to know whether it's good or bad. You want to be able to identify that so you can correct it. As she stated, there are so many errors that are on your credit report that you not even know. Your name could be wrong, your address. It's just a lot of things, not even including the debt that's on there that could be true or not. You don't know until you address it. So hopefully you all were able to log in to annualcreditreport.com. Again, log into www.annualcreditreport.com, and you can get your free credit report and make sure you download it and print it out and get a hard copy of it as well, so that you can go back and review it later. So if you still need any information about the credit repair, you can email me, like I said, and I'd be gladly to get that information out to you. You can email me at realmoneymatters@RachelRKennedy.com. Again, I'm just so excited because we're moving right along. And today we're going to have a caller call in real soon. Right now, the city of Detroit is contemplating bankruptcy. Oh my goodness, bankruptcy has become, and it's went all over the world. Everybody's talking about Detroit. And so today I thought it would be good that if we bring on a bankruptcy attorney, she's going to explain to us the ins and outs about bankruptcy. So we're going to be preparing for her to call in real soon, but I want you to call a friend, call a neighbor, let them know that we're talking about relevant things that are happening right now in the city that's affecting the area that we live in. And we want to, many people have filed for bankruptcy. This person has been in business for several years, handling it. So we're going to bring an awareness to you today about bankruptcy, the advantages, the disadvantages. When is it a good time to file bankruptcy? You know, is it really a fresh start? Those are some of the questions that we're going to address with this bankruptcy attorney today. And I am so excited that she'll be calling in momentarily. We'll give you some more information about her. So I want you, please contact me if you have any questions, concerns, any topics that we haven't discussed over the weeks that I've been talking and you would like to hear or you'd like to discuss, then email it to me. I'd love to hear from you, and we would consider your thoughts, consider your request if that's something that we can bring to you. Because right now your money matters. It does. It matters, and I want to continuously to bring it to you and make an awareness. I think half the battle is knowing. A lot of times we ignore things and we don't deal with them, but ignoring situations with your finances does not make them go away. Actually, it makes them bigger. When we go away from our fears and we have fears of things, the best way to conquer our fears is just to go and do it. I'm telling you, and that we will get we'll feel better, that we know courage. You know what courage is? Courage is not that you're not fearful, but you do it anyways because you know it's something that has to be done. And our finances are so serious. It's a serious matter. Even in the society we live in, when people are trying to keep up with the Joneses, they have an appearance of wealth, but inside they're they're stressed and they're distraught because they don't know how they're going to make ends meet. And we want to take the worry out of your money. And so that's why we bring these shows to you every week. I'm encouraging you, please apply the principles that we talk about. Please go back on. Log in and see previous shows on how we've talked about budgeting. We've talked about your income being a pie. Oh, I love that scenario that your income is so much, only so much you have. And once you give it all up, it's gone. And so every time you have income, we talked about income versus wages. Oh, there's so many topics that's going to help you. And I encourage you to get a journal down all these things that are important to you, because what I understand and what I know is that budgets have to be customized. You know how you go into some of these homes and they have these standard homes, and then they have some that are customized. What does that mean? That means we add things that may not apply to my neighbor, that they might not like or may not want, but that's what works for me. And so what you have to always remember is that you have to develop a budget that works for you. You know your spending habits. You know what you spend money on. You know what you bring in. You know your potential earnings, your potential income. So since you know that, then you have to custom tailor it for your needs. And I always want you to be aware of your spending habits. Always think about assets, acquiring assets, things that's going to benefit your life. We don't want to use our money and spend it on things that are not going to add value to our life, consumable things. I think most people have enough clothes and we could probably clean out our closet and we could probably sell a lot of things and bring some more money into our life. So I want you to consider that. Think of ways and be creative on how you can bring more income into your life. So we're going to prepare to get ready to talk about bankruptcy. It's been an epidemic. People who have filed bankruptcy, some of them, when you go to that process, you think it's going to make you feel better, but in a lot of cases people don't feel better because they feel like they failed and they've done something wrong. But you know what? Life happens and situations happens, and so don't beat yourself up. If you find yourself in that situation, then know that you can recover. Know that there is hope. Know that you can go on and have a better life financially. Learn from your mistakes. I encourage you. We all have made mistakes financially. Don't just take it as a lesson. Make it a lesson and say, okay, this is what I don't want to do. Because guess what? If you can't be a good example, then you'll have to be a horrible warning. And we don't want you to do that. We want you to be a good example. And so keep that in mind, because other people are watching you. But you want to do what works best for you concerning your finances. So we're going to get ready to get our call from our caller real soon here. Her name is Attorney Lewis. And Attorney Lewis has a law office in the city of Detroit. And her name is Wendy Turner Lewis. And she's offering Chapter 7 legal services for persons living in the Detroit metropolitan area, and she's been doing that for like 12 years. But she's been practicing attorney for over 24 years. So I'm excited that she's going to share in the information that she has today concerning bankruptcy, and we're going to be educated. So please call a friend, call a neighbor, let them know we're talking about relevant things. We're talking about bankruptcy today, and hopefully you'll get an awareness and an understanding. Maybe that's not something or route you want to go, but maybe that is a route you have to go, for whatever reason there might be. So let somebody know Real Money Matters is on the air. Log in to ItsWebTV. And we are going to talk with Miss Lewis, who has so graciously agreed to call in today and join us. All right. So, Attorney Lewis, are you there? Hello, Attorney Lewis?
Yes.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for joining us today and sharing with us. I'm so excited to get more information about bankruptcy.
Sure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to offer this type of service?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I am actually a sole practitioner here in the city of Detroit. My office is in Midtown. and I work primarily with bankruptcy work, and I've been doing so probably for about 20 years. I liked the class when I was in law school, so
okay.
I kind of a great transformation from there on. And then since 1999, I've been on the bankruptcy panel of trustees, so I hear bankruptcy cases a couple times a month, about 80 or 90 cases on a weekly basis every other week.
Wow.
So
wow.
that's pretty much primarily what I do. I do bankruptcy work, and I enjoy it.
Wow.
It's involved, but I think it's very helpful for people who need it. And I get to do both sides, both from a trustee perspective, and I have a fairly substantial debtor practice as well.
Wow. Well, I'm so excited to hear what you're going to share with us today. I know it sounds like you're very knowledgeable in your field, and I know that people, they find themselves in situations and life happens. So I appreciate what you do because you help people and give people hope. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. So why don't we just get right into it, and why don't you just tell us when and why is it necessary to file bankruptcy, or just kind of give us an overview on things you think are very important concerning why and how the process is.
Absolutely. Yeah, in terms of bankruptcy, I guess a lot of people are not necessarily well versed on what bankruptcy is and why people file bankruptcy, and just so you'll know, in terms of just your information that you give to your listeners in terms of financial information or assessments. I mean, people have to first take a look at what their liabilities are and what their assets are.
Okay.
And technically speaking, can you afford what's going on in terms of your debt income ratio? And that's the first thing that we take a look at in terms of trying to determine whether or not a person should be filing bankruptcy or not. And when you talk about bankruptcy, there's different types of bankruptcies. There's a Chapter 7, which is what I do,
okay,
where it's a liquidation bankruptcy, where you're liquidating or getting rid of all of your unsecured debt. Chapter 13 is a restructuring bankruptcy for individuals, where there is some disposable income left over, but you may be paying on a percentage rate to your creditors. It'd be from 10% maybe to 100% over a 3, 4, 5 year plan, a plan that you propose to the court, that the court allows by way of order, and that's kind of a wage earner's bankruptcy. So you're paying into a plan on based upon what you're going to pay on a regular basis over a 3, 4, 5 year period of time. So those are the ones that, in reference to consumers. A lot of times as you know, there's people that have divorce proceedings where you loss of income, where you lose your job, where you're laid off, where there's illness, or lots of things happen in terms of people having their lifestyle change or their income changes, which allows them the opportunity to say, well, you know what, I cannot necessarily make these payments, and they have to do something that's to release that debt. And really what a Chapter 7 does is kind of gives people what they call a fresh start, which is kind of set forth in the statute. It gives you the opportunity to start afresh, get rid of all of your unsecured debt, and continue to make payments and kind of restructure what you've been doing and go forward.
Okay, that sounds great. So can you tell us then, I guess my concern with that, and I think it's great for those who need a fresh start and who are willing to change their ways, but is that does that really solve their financial problems by doing that?
Well, I think, again, a lot of times when someone has a catastrophic issue that happens, be it loss of job or, again, illness or things of that matter, where something happens that it was an unforeseen circumstance, then absolutely it helps them. I think that the main thing and the main focus for all of us is to really kind of set forth a budget. And that's from the onset, is to make sure you kind of list what your income is on a monthly basis, what's anticipated, and what you have to pay out on a regular monthly basis. That's very important. And I think that can potentially offset a lot of individuals having to file bankruptcy or just kind of getting into a fray of, what you need. And it's also very important that people put some rainy day monies down.
Yes.
Maybe 10% of your income if you can.
Yes.
Be it $20, be it $50, whatever it is, that adds up. But, car breaking down or some other situation occurring in terms of, medical medicine, whatever that is.
Yes.
Those are things that are kind of unforeseen circumstances.
Yes.
But you have to have some rainy day monies available in order to go forward and make those payments that occur.
Yes.
A lot of times people have those types of things, and then you're going to use your credit cards. Your credit cards have these 20% interest rates,
yes,
which are, for most people, it's something that you really cannot necessarily afford, because what you're doing is paying your interest and these penalties, but you're never really knocking down that, what the actual debt is.
Right, the principal,
so
yeah.
That's very important for people to look at. Take a look at those credit cards and see what you're paying on a monthly basis. And are you really paying this principal off, or are you just paying off interest and penalties? And you're never paying off the actual debt itself. And so that's what happens. It's like a spiral for a lot of people.
Okay.
And that's what happens in terms of a Chapter 7 for that reason, in terms of just credit card debt. But again, a lot of people have situations where they get in a situation where their finances change, their lifestyle has changed completely, and they have to do something to get a fresh start.
So in the process of going through the process of bankruptcy, is there some kind of training or things they get? How does that work to help them not to get back there again?
Yeah. As of 2005, when the Bankruptcy Reform Act took place, part of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy now, there's mandatory credit counseling.
Wonderful.
Which I think is a great thing.
Yes.
And there's two portions of credit counseling that each person has to do when you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy proceeding. The first portion is when you receive counseling. It's called a Certificate of Completion of Bankruptcy Counseling. And what they go through is your income and your expenses. It's, again, your budget.
Wow.
What's going on? Do you qualify to do a Chapter 7 bankruptcy proceedings? Does all your debt clearly outweigh what your assets and your income is?
Wow.
And so that's the first portion of credit counseling. The second portion is called credit management, which must be done prior to you receiving a discharge, and we'll talk about what that is in a second.
Okay.
But the second portion is credit management, where you are saying, okay, you know what, I filed the bankruptcy, I'm discharging all of my unsecured debt, and now how do I go forward in order to manage my monies to make sure this does not happen again?
Yes.
So again, with the Bankruptcy Reform Act, there's now mandatory credit counseling, and I think it's a great thing for people to be able to get some counsel in terms of how to manage their finances pre and post bankruptcy.
Wow, I think that's excellent. I mean, because then they need a plan. I think a lot of times when they maybe wind up in that situation, they didn't have a plan. They were just doing something. So I think that's wonderful that that's offered, because otherwise it would just create a situation where they could do it again if they didn't get training on how to restart their life. So I'm glad to hear that that's offered. So how often can someone file bankruptcy, and does it happen? Do they do it more than once?
Oh, yeah. There are people that, unfortunately, circumstances repeat themselves.
Okay.
Or, again, they may not be able to manage their monies well, and they do file again. Now, in a Chapter 7, you receive a discharge. You can receive a discharge every 8 years.
Wow.
So it used to be 6 years prior to the Bankruptcy Reform Act in 2005, but now it's every 8 years you can receive a discharge. And let me just tell you what a discharge is that once you file the bankruptcy, you are discharging or getting rid of all of your unsecured debt. Now, any secured debt is anything that's tied to like a house or car where there's some collateral that's attached to a debt. You can either surrender that debt, that collateral, and get rid of that debt, or you can keep it and do what they call a reaffirmation agreement and reaffirm on that particular debt for a car, or maybe a lot of times, sometimes people do it with a line of credit, but you can reaffirm if it makes sense in terms of your income and expenses. Okay. So everyone that you list, you have to give notice to each and every one of your creditors.
Okay.
Once you do that, you will, 60 days after you have your 341, your first meeting of creditors, which is approximately 40 days after you filed your bankruptcy, one hearing, you will get that discharge order, and that discharge order discharges you of all of your unsecured debt that you've listed on your schedules. So again, you can do it every 8 years pursuant to statute.
Okay. Wow. Oh, my goodness. This is a lot. I'm just trying to, and take it all in, too, because it's like, wow, I just didn't know and wasn't aware of, what's involved with all of that process. So this basically, and I appreciate a lot of things you're saying are things I've talked on the show about budgeting, about secured and unsecured debt. So I feel really good about the things you're saying because you're reinforcing some of the topics I've already discussed on the show. So yeah, I appreciate
these are very important topics. I think a lot of times people are unclear as to what collateral is, what's secured, what's unsecured.
Yes.
And, we need to be apprised of those things. When you're signing a retail sales contract, when you're buying a car,
yes,
you are saying that this car is collateral for this debt.
Yes.
And just because you don't want to pay it anymore, you cannot keep the car.
Right.
Okay, you have to give the car back.
Right.
And so there's, little nuances to those things that people need to understand in terms of going forward when you do purchasing and quite frankly, when you're considering filing bankruptcy.
Okay, so there are certain debts that bankruptcy doesn't erase, because that's when you talked about the secured and unsecured debt.
Yeah, that's one thing that does not go away. Alimony, child support are non-dischargeable debts. A lot of times, for the most part, taxes, with the exception of some things, are non-dischargeable.
Okay.
Drunk driving cases where there's been some injuries involved, that's a non-dischargeable debt.
Wow.
Student loans, for the most part, are non-dischargeable.
Wow. Okay.
So there are quite a few things. Anything having to deal with taxes or some type of probation oversight fee or alimony, child support, taxes, student loans, those are what they call non-dischargeable debts. So notwithstanding filing the bankruptcy, with the exception of a few cases in terms of some of your taxes or where you're incapacitated and you have to file some type of adversary proceeding when there's student loans involved, then those things become non-dischargeable. So even if you're filing the bankruptcy, you're going to still have to pay those debts.
So people still have to get an awareness and know really how it's going to affect their future. And if this works for them in restructuring and moving forward with their lives. Now, have you ever ran across a case where someone maybe came in to file for bankruptcy and then maybe it was recommended that they could do something else besides bankruptcy that wasn't as severe? Have you had cases like that?
Yeah, the thing is, if you have to, let me just say this: if you have to file, I mean, if you don't have the income, then it's a way of being able to get a fresh start, and a lot of times people will not be able to get a fresh start no matter what they do.
Okay.
And again, we've got a lot of credit card debt, and if you've got a lot of interest and penalties assessed to it, most people are not going to be able to make those, payments to the extent that where you pay that debt off. Okay, so there are some people that cannot file for various reasons, be it their assets, because you can allow certain exemptions, be it equity in your home or whatever, that lawsuits or things of that nature. There's a certain amount of equity, that means interest in certain things you can keep, notwithstanding filing the bankruptcy. But if you have a surplus, of those things, then maybe it's best that if you're trying to keep that collateral, if you're trying to keep that asset, then you got to try to work something out with your creditors to the extent that you can, and not file the bankruptcy if you want to keep that house or you want to keep that, whatever it is.
That asset, Okay.
So, there are certain cases. And then a lot of times, too, people have disposable income, which means if your income and your expenses, and you do that budget, and you've got a surplus of $200 or $300 or more left over, then the court is looking at you to potentially say, you know what, I can file a Chapter 13, and I can pay back some of this debt. I can pay 10 cents on the dollar over 3 years or something of that nature. So those are the situations where filing a 7 may not necessarily be in a person's best interest, but in fact, there's some other options that are available.
Okay, I see. So how does someone get credit after filing bankruptcy, or how does getting credit in addition, how does the bankruptcy process affect that?
Well, that's a really good question, because I think a lot of people have a misconception that's saying that once I file the bankruptcy, I'm never going to be able to receive credit again.
Right.
And there is nothing more. No. That is totally incorrect.
Okay.
A lot of times when people file bankruptcy, Rachel, their credit scores within 3 or 4 months go up 200 points.
What? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's a misnomer. People's bankruptcies, when they file Chapter 7, think about this. You're discharging all of your debt, right? And if you're working, you still have your income.
Right.
So your credit score is based upon your income-debt ratio.
Wow.
So if your income-debt ratio has changed dramatically based upon that debt going away, and again, think about it, you can't file bankruptcy for another 8 years.
Right.
Become a amazing credit risk for a creditor. So I have clients that come in and who believed just what you said.
Wow.
Coming in the door, I'll never receive credit again. I need to keep this credit card. I'll never. And they come in and they thank me because 3 months later they've got credit card if they want it.
Yeah.
Now I don't encourage people to go out and get that. I think a debit card is the best thing, and just maybe limit yourself to a smaller amount to kind of establish that credit. But your credit score drastically increases with bankruptcy.
Wow, that's something.
So that is not correct.
Wow. And I never would have, and the thought is that, I can't get credit, but that makes so much sense what you're saying, because your debt is reduced and you still have income, so you become almost a target again, like they were going to target you and start sending you things for credit card offers or something.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So and a lot of times people will come to me to file bankruptcy. For instance, if you're trying to get a house, if you're trying to finance a house, if you're trying to acquire a mortgage, and again, your income-debt ratio is to the extent that you're not extended that mortgage, well, they come, they file the bankruptcy, they discharge all of your unsecured debt, right? So now your credit score goes up tremendously. And now you're able to acquire that mortgage because, again, a creditor looks at it because your income-debt ratio has dramatically increased in terms of, it's improved. So, businesses, a lot of times people file personal guarantees for businesses and lots of things where people have to file bankruptcy. But again, just because you file bankruptcy does not mean that you will not get credit again. That's completely incorrect.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. Oh my gosh, that just was an eye-awakener there. So I appreciate that. Now, does that affect the utility services? Are those affected by your
no, not well, utility services, there's only one or two, around, obviously, and they have a monopoly. So what happens a lot of times, if people have a tremendous amount of money that they owe to the utility companies, what they will do is ask people for a nominal deposit. After they've wiped out that debt. But it's not humongous. So, maybe like $150 for a deposit towards utilities going forward. But it does not stop your utilities. It does not at all.
Now, can someone be discriminated against because they filed bankruptcy?
No.
No.
I have all kinds of clients. Doctors, lawyers, people that work in the casinos, people that work in credit scenarios, and which, obviously that has something to do with money, and therefore it has something to do with potential bankruptcies. But you cannot be discriminated against because of filing the bankruptcy.
Now, do potential employers know that information? Or I know sometimes those things are on those kind of applications. Is it advised to tell people, that you've done that, or it's filing bankruptcy is public record. Now, so I wouldn't encourage anyone not to tell the truth about something like that. But again, to your point, no one can be discriminated against because of the filing. It's something that we're all given the right to do if, in fact, the circumstances present themselves based upon your finances. So when you do file the bankruptcy, does it stop the creditors? It stops the creditors from calling
automatically on the day of filing.
Wow.
Once you file the bankruptcy, it ceases, stops all collection actions.
Wow.
Everything.
Wow.
Stops it. Any garnishments, any judgment creditors that are out there trying to collect monies, any lawsuits that are potentially pending. It is what they call an automatic stay, which stops all collection actions.
Wow.
A lot of times, if I have clients, garnishment has ensued, we can try to get the money, and we usually do get the money that has been acquired within the 3 months prior to filing the bankruptcy.
Okay.
So that's very important to a lot of clients, obviously, because someone's taking a couple $100 out of your check every 2 weeks.
Right.
That's a substantial amount of money is coming back to you once you file the bankruptcy.
Okay. Now,
the bankruptcy stops all of those proceedings.
Wow.
And again, it's very important to list all those creditors, because if you list them and give them notice, then it's they have to, if they have to do anything, they can come and they ask you questions at your 341 first meeting of creditors, which is, again, your one hearing that you have in a bankruptcy proceeding after you file. But they've received notice, and they can, and every creditor should know that once that happens, landlords included, you have to cease operations of all of your collection proceedings, and then you have to file something with the bankruptcy court in order to get permission to do anything further.
Okay, anything further as far as, you mean the creditors?
Yes, anything, no. Well, for instance, a landlord, obviously, if they want to evict a person, I mean, they've got to get that stay vacated in order to go forward in some type of district court proceeding to get someone evicted. So the bankruptcy court has the right to say, everything that happens outside of this cannot happen until you get our permission to go forward. At this point, everything has stopped. So a lot of times what creditors may do, particularly in a situation like that, the eviction proceeding or things of that nature, they'll just wait until a person receives their discharge order. And again, you receive your discharge and the case is potentially closed at that time, maybe 60 days after your 341 first meeting of creditors.
Okay. Wow.
So it's about a 90-day process.
It's a 90
beginning to end.
That's what I was going to ask. Now, is it costly? Is it a price? How much do you have to pay in order to file bankruptcy? Is that a costly thing, or is it factored into the bankruptcy? How do the fees work?
Attorneys have different rates. Obviously, I can't quote everyone's rates. There's a filing fee for the bankruptcy court here in the Eastern District of Michigan for Chapter 7 is $306.
Okay, wow.
And attorneys range from maybe $1,000 to $2,000 in terms of bankruptcy services.
Okay. Now, is that like a payment plan they put them on?
Sometimes people make a payment plan. Others, attorneys do, all the money up front. So it depends on the attorney. So, again, there's a wide range of the fees involved, and quite frankly, there'll be sometimes it depends on the complexity of the case.
Right.
There may be a lot of issues involved, maybe businesses involved, in addition to that person's bankruptcy, where they've got personal guarantees or lots of lawsuits that are pending that we have to deal with, or things of that nature.
So how does it affect people on that note? If someone is co-signed, does it affect when someone files bankruptcy? If someone is co-signed, how does that work?
Again, when you co-sign on a debt, what you're saying is you're as liable as the other person.
Yes.
So if a bankruptcy is filed by, say, debtor 1, and debtor 2 did not file bankruptcy, the creditor is going to come after debtor 2.
What?
Because debtor 1 has now discharged that debt.
Oh my gosh, that's how that works.
Yes. That's exactly how that works.
Oh, that can make an enemy there.
Enemy or a bad family member.
Right. Oh,
so, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot. Parents may co-sign for someone to get a car, or I see it quite a bit.
Yes.
And you're doing something, very graciously, and because you truly believe that person's going to make payments on that debt. A lot of times people will file the bankruptcy, and they're the only person on that debt.
Okay.
But they haven't seen the car in 2 years. And neither has the creditor. They haven't seen the car or the any payments.
Wow.
So I think people need to be really mindful
Yes.
of co-signing
Yes.
or even signing for credit for another individual.
Wow.
Because you are going to be responsible if that debt is not paid 100%. You know, either as a co-debtor, but you may probably be the person who has the income and not the other individual, or as a person acquiring that debt for someone else. And you're stuck with the bag, basically.
Wow. So on that same note then, what about married couples? Can one spouse file and the other one not
Yeah,
file?
that happens quite a bit.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you would be surprised. A lot of times people have all the debts in one person's name, or one spouse has a lot of debt, the other one may not.
Okay.
Or one spouse has filed bankruptcy 5 years previous, and there's still a lot of debt.
Okay.
And that other spouse will file because the other one can't file, obviously.
Okay.
So
wow.
It really depends, but you can't have one person file and not the other person. But it's very important to note that when you do file a bankruptcy, you have to list the income of both persons in the marriage if there's income coming from both parties.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. You have brought such an awareness to me about a lot of areas in bankruptcy. I just really didn't even know. And a lot of it is kind of, false based on the term bankruptcy. You just make assumptions. But thank you so much. I mean, you brought such an awareness and an enlightenment today. We did talk about discharge. I think you talked a little about discharge. And what is discharge?
Absolutely, yeah. Discharge is when once you file the bankruptcy and you list your creditors, approximately 60 days after your 341, your first meeting of creditors, where you have that one hearing. And once notice is sent out to everyone, once you file the bankruptcy, you'll have one hearing in front of a bankruptcy trustee. And again, that's what I do. Okay. And you will receive what they call a discharge order from 60 to 70 days after that 341 hearing, assuming there are no objections filed to your discharge or to your bankruptcy. And that discharges you of all of your unsecured debt that you've properly listed and given notice to your creditors. Okay. That's why I cannot emphasize how important it is to list everyone. A lot of times people will have credit reports or just maybe one. And I really a little bit on the more cautious part. I want to make sure people have all of their creditors listed. Okay. Because you don't want someone to come back 3 years later and say, you owed me $3,000. You didn't list me. Right. I would have filed an objection, but for the fact that, I didn't know that you had filed this bankruptcy. So again, just understand it's very important to list those parties. Okay. But that order that you receive discharges you of all the debts that you've listed on your bankruptcy proceeding. Wow. So have there been cases where people left out somebody and they came after? Yeah, but it's kind of it's not. Let me just say that there's case law that kind of talks about it. Okay. And if it's a creditor who didn't have the opportunity to object or had a reason to object to your debt, then it's not that huge of a deal. Okay. But, for the purposes of just kind of cleaning your slate and making sure no one's calling you 2 years later and having some issue with them, I think it's really, it's a good practice to make sure that you've listed everybody so that they all have notice. Okay. So that is possible for someone to object to the discharge? Oh, yeah. Really? Under fraud, a lot of times, let me just say this. Okay. There may be an individual who may have acquired credit through some fraud in their credit report. This is a great example of it. Okay. And you've received a line of credit saying that you make $100,000 as opposed to the $20,000 that you really make. Okay. And if that creditor relied upon that information to extend to you credit, and you've charged up maybe $30,000 worth of debt, then they have a viable ability to file an objection to your complaint, to file it's called an adversary proceeding in bankruptcy court, saying that they would wish to not have their particular debt discharged.
Wow. And so, that happens?
So there's different causes of actions for that, but that's the most prevalent is when there's fraud attached to someone acquiring the debt.
Okay. And that probably doesn't happen a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah, but it can happen like that. Wow. I'm just like really appreciative today. You're really giving us some good information here. And so my viewers that are watching, how can they contact you? If they have questions or if they need to find themselves in that situation where they need to file bankruptcy, how can you give us your contact information?
Absolutely. And I am, and again, Rachel, thank you so much for having me. I love what I do.
Yes.
And I'm here. Again, I'm located in Midtown in Detroit.
Okay.
And my phone number here at the office is 313-832-5555. And I have a website, just so if anyone's interested in finding out any information about bankruptcy or contacting our office, and that's www.Wendy, W-E-N-D-Y, Turner, T-U-R-N-E-R, Lewis, L-E-W-I-S, P as in Paul, LLC.com. And that's my website. It has lots of information on it. And if you want to contact us, we're here. I do make Saturday appointments for people that need that. But it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, we appreciate your service to the community. We appreciate that you give hope to people who have found themselves in, that life happens and things happen. And so thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll continue to give your information out, and hopefully someone can contact you if they're in that situation. And you did such a wonderful job of enlightening us today. And thank you so much again. And I definitely will be in touch with you in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you, attorney. All right. Take care. Oh, my goodness. That is just so much information. I had no clue about all the things that are involved in bankruptcy, and I hope that you were listening. She emphasized some of the things I've been talking about all over the course of the shows about a budget. A budget. Get yourself a budget that will help you to avoid getting yourself in a situation where you've overextended and you're not able to pay back. Yes, there is life after bankruptcy. Yes, it is. But why even go there? Continue to be aware of your finance. Take charge of your money. You can live on less than what you make. I know you can. We can find ways to reduce our spending so that you won't find yourself having to go through that process of paying the legal fees, paying whatever it is. But guess what? If you do find yourself there, there is hope. There is help. And Miss Wendy Lewis can help you if you're in that particular situation. Again, her phone number is 313-832-5555, or log into her website and look at and just check out the information. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's somebody you know that can benefit from her services. And her website again is www.WendyTurnerLewisPLLC.com. And I tell you, just some of the things about getting your credit back, about co-signing. Oh my gosh, if you co-sign for someone who files bankruptcy, then they're going to come after that co-signer. I did not know that. Oh my gosh, that is such an incentive for you not to co-sign. Now just think about you co-sign for somebody for a loan. Why you think they won't take that person's credit on their own? Because they haven't had a track record of paying their bills. So why would you want to co-sign that? So you're saying, oh, okay, you haven't paid your bill, so I'm gonna trust you that you're gonna pay it this time. Probably not a good idea. Maybe you need to think about that, like for 5 seconds. No, no, you don't want to ruin your good credit on somebody else's behalf. Your credit is so important and is valuable, and you've worked hard and you've earned it. You don't want to. I know you love people and you want to help people, but guess what? We have to help ourselves. And so the best thing you can do is get them to watch this, view this show, learn how to develop a budget that works for them. Learn how whatever income you have is the income you have. And if you're not satisfied with that, then go make some more income. But you have to have a plan for your spending. If you don't have a plan for your spending, then your money is going to just go out the window. You might as well just get your check, go down the street, and just open your window and just throw it out the window. If you don't have a plan, planning is everything. I tell you, I encourage you today, get yourself a budget. Learn how to live on less than what you make. Like I said, it's a pie. Your income is a pie, and you only have so much of it. And every maybe it takes 2 weeks for your pie to get done before you can spend it. So you got to be able to spend, and you got to be able to manage until that next pie is ready. What is that next pie? Your next check, your next source of income. That's your next pie. So you have to be able to sustain until that next pie. Learn to save. We must save. We must live on, try to get in the habit of living on 70% of our income. So what do we do with the other 30%? 10%, I believe in giving to God, Him first, definitely 10%. 10% needs to go into a short saving program where you save for emergency things. You save for your car repair. You save for things that happen that don't normally happen, and you'll have a cushion there. Then you save 10% that's going to go for long term. We need to think about long term. What's going to happen as you get older? You need to prepare for some money in some investments that your money can grow, where you can have it when you retire. A nest egg. Or if you have children, I'm telling you, children that need to go to college. College is expensive. So you're going to use that 10% for long terms and put it in something that's going to grow your money. Don't you want to grow your money? Don't you want it to grow? And so in order for you to get to surplus, or to get to abundance and to have that excess, then you must save. And I can't say that enough, because it's torment not having enough money. And so once you get yourself in the habit, remember that riddle I told you last week about a habit. You must get into a habit, a good habit of saving, a good habit of managing your money, because your habits, what you do consistently every day, every time, is going to determine your success. It's going to determine whether you're going to be successful at what you do or not. And so it can go either way. So I need you to contact me. I'd love to get that information to you concerning habits, how it can make you or break you. It can make you successful, or it can ruin you. And we must discipline ourselves. We must discipline ourselves and learn and come into an awareness of how things affect our life. Choices we make. Choices. I tell you, every day your choice is going to determine your outcome. If you're not happy where you are today, guess what? Wherever we are today is a combination of choices we made yesterday. So if you want to see something different tomorrow, then you have to make a different choice today. And I encourage you to choose to budget your money. The B word. Yes, budget your money. Learn to have access. Save. Do not consume, please. I encourage you not to consume every cent that you have. You want to get yourself in a situation where you are at a financial place where you can be a blessing and you can help others. And you're not in torment of not having, not wondering where your next meal is coming from, not wondering how I'm going to get gas to get to work. You don't want to feel those things bring you into a situation where you want to spend more. And so we want to take control of that, and I know you can. By viewing these shows, it's going to help you develop your budget. We're giving you tips and valuable information. Credit repair. Things happen. Listen, when you find yourself in a situation, don't stay there. Get up. There is hope, and there is hope in managing your money. So today, I thank Miss Wendy Lewis again. She did such a wonderful job of enlightening us about bankruptcy and the process of it all. Hopefully you're not there, but if you are, there is hope for you. Contact her today. Feel free to email me if you missed out on any of that information. I'd be willing to share that with you. I have budget forms. I have debt ratio forms. I have things that are going to help you track and keep track of your finances. And so email me at realmoneymatters@RachelRKennedy.com. realmoneymatters@RachelRKennedy.com. And we'll get that information out to you. Remember, develop good habits. Develop habits that's going to benefit you. And guess what? Once you start it in this area, it'll cross over into other areas of your life, because finances is like so much. It's almost like breathing. It's like every day you need it, it does. So it helps you, and it behooves you to learn about it and be knowledgeable about where you're spending your dollars. Be knowledgeable, find ways to cut back. You can do it. I know you can. Continue to log in, look at our previous shows. They are available. Thanks to Kevin Lewis. We appreciate his efforts here, and he's doing a wonderful job at ItsWebTV.com. And so we encourage you to continue to view the shows as always. And I appreciate you today for tuning in. I'm telling you, next week each show is getting better and better. And I want to encourage you to tell a friend, tell a neighbor, let them know Real Money Matters is on the air. And we're dealing with matters of money. We want you to know and bring an awareness to you that your money matters. It matters what you make. It matters what you save. It matters what you spend. It matters how you manage the money that has been trusted to you and that you've worked hard for. So until next week, remember, your money matters, and make it count. Until next week, thanks for tuning in.